Marriage often seems like a watertight ship, but in reality, the small cracks you don't notice are enough to collapse an entire hull over time. My name is Jack. I'm 37 years old. I've been in advertising for 10 years, and I've been married for 7. I think I love my wife Emily, at least I know I did at one time. After our son Ethan was born, our life became more scheduled, more responsible. The days became to-do lists and the nights became sleepless and tired. Emily is a great mom. She is a good person. But sometimes there's a difference between loving someone and needing them. You wake up one morning and the person next to you is still there, but you feel like you're living in another universe. That was the case for me. Our marriage was full of unspoken words, unspent nights, forgotten passions. Lisa appeared in that void. Lisa is part of the creative team at the agency. She is 32 years old, full of self-confidence and doesn't care much about what others think of her. With her red lipstick, her sloppy yet attractive messy blonde hair, and her penetrating laugh, she is one of those women who attracts attention wherever she is. As she looked at me, I felt as if she was seeing something buried inside me. That day, the shift had been extended. Most people had left, but while I was working on a report, Lisa came up to me at the coffee machine. "Jack, when was the last time you really had fun in your life?" she asked, stirring her coffee. I opened my mouth and tried to answer, but my answers, as far as I knew, were empty. "It was a nice day when Emily and I took Ethan to the amusement park," I said. Lisa rolled her eyes and smiled. No, I'm not talking about family activities. I'm talking about something that really excites you, makes you shiver inside, makes you feel like you." I couldn't answer because I didn't remember. I had been trying to be a decent man for so long that I had forgotten what was good for me. Lisa sighed, took a sip of her coffee and leaned over to lean against my desk. Sad. She looked into my eyes. She was trying to figure me out, or maybe she already had. At that moment I realized Lisa was too close to me. I could smell her perfume on my nose. It was strange. I should have backed away, that's what I would normally do. But I didn't, and in that moment I realized what I had missed. The next day, at lunch, I received a text message on my phone. "Lisa, how about a lunchtime fling today?" And that's when something changed inside me. When I saw Lisa's message, both excitement and guilt collided in my chest. The word fling was too casual, too unquestioning. Without thinking, I wrote back, "Ben, where are you planning to go?" A few seconds later, the answer came, "Lisa, leave it to me." At lunchtime that day, I was waiting outside the office building. Lisa drove up in a gray sports car and rolled down the window and winked at me. "Come on, Mr. Married Man." I got in the car, which smelled faintly of vanilla and cigarettes. Lisa, wearing her sunglasses, was confidently stepping on the gas. I didn't know where we were going, but I didn't care. When we pulled up to a small motel on the outskirts of town, I knew something inside me was about to snap. We got out of the car, and I was feeling a tightness inside. "Lisa, I don't know. Maybe this is a mistake." Lisa turned to me and laughed, biting her lips slightly. "Jack, the things that feel like a mistake are sometimes the things that feel the most right." As she said this, she reached for the collar of my shirt and pulled me gently to her. We stood there for a moment, there in front of the door to the motel room, eye to eye. I should have thought about it one last time. Maybe I should have stepped back, but I didn't want to think about it. Lisa opened the door and we went in. That room was where everything changed. Something was unraveling inside me. Lisa's skin, her warmth, her touch. For hours I forgot who I was, where I was, what was right and wrong. It was just me and her there. My phone rang several times. It was Emily. I didn't pick up. I saw that the calls had finally stopped, but my conscience didn't ease for a moment. In the evening, Lisa was lying on the bed smoking a cigarette. "How are you feeling right now?" she asked, looking up at the ceiling. For a moment I couldn't answer, trying to find the right word. "Guilt," I finally said. "But I also feel alive." Lisa turned her head to the side and looked at me. "That's why you're here, Jack." I looked at my watch. It was time to go home. What was I going to say to Emily? How was I going to look my son in the eye? A complex storm was raging inside me, but at the same time I didn't want to go back. Lisa put out her cigarette with a nonchalant smile. We'll do it again, won't we? I didn't answer right then, but we both knew the answer. On the way home, I was squeezing the steering wheel so hard that my fingers were numb. At one point, when I stopped at a red light, I saw a young couple in the car next to me. The man was holding her hand and looking into her eyes. She was smiling slightly, tilting her head to the side and listening intently to what he was saying. I watched them for a few seconds, where once it had been me and Emily. Now, when Emily and I locked eyes, we were both thinking about completely different things. When we ate dinner together, our conversations didn't go beyond bills, Ethan's schoolwork, or groceries for the weekend. It wasn't like the conversations with Lisa. Lisa made me feel like myself. The light turned green. I pressed the gas lightly, but I realized I didn't really want to go home. For a moment, I even considered turning the car around and going back to Lisa. What was I doing? When I got home, the living room lights were still on. Emily was in the kitchen doing the dishes. Her face was tired, her hair disheveled. A few years ago, I would have snuggled up to her in this kitchen, kissed the back of her neck and hugged her waist. Now I just stood in the doorway and watched her. Finally, she lifted her head and looked at me. She smiled slightly. Where were you? His question was simple, but there was something hidden in it. At that moment, I thought he knew everything. He looked me in the eyes, as if he could read my mind. My throat went dry. It was a busy day, I said. Work ran long. Then the kids and I went out for a while. It was easy to lie. But I realized then that it wasn't the first time I had lied. Maybe we were telling each other little lies all the time in our marriage and didn't even realize it. Emily shook her head. She didn't question it too much. In the past, she would have wondered where I was, reproached me, maybe even gotten angry. But now she just nodded tiredly and rinsed the dishes. I thought about when we had become so distant in our marriage. In the early years, Emily and I would talk until the wee hours of the morning, making plans, dreaming, and now it was just a partnership of children and responsibilities. On my way upstairs, I saw the door to Ethan's room ajar. I walked in and my son was sleeping soundly. I leaned over and kissed his forehead. Something nodded inside me. If Emily found out, if one day this family fell apart, how would Ethan be affected? How would he look at me if he knew his father had touched another woman, cheated on his mother? My phone vibrated in my pocket. I took it out and looked at the screen. It was Lisa. Did you miss me? I closed my eyes. This was the truth. I knew what I had done was wrong. But seeing Lisa's message, hearing that question, ignited something inside me. Ben, yes. A few seconds later, a new message came. Lisa, then dream about me tonight. I smiled. At that moment, I knew that everything with Lisa was just beginning, and that my marriage was taking on water like a ship. But did I care? That I didn't know.